update on our season, or I guess monthly-long, like battle against the Raiders Report. I'm actually shocked. I went back and checked this 3 times. We have exactly a 5,000 like lead over the Raiders Report. Much like the preseason game, let's bury them. Like the video on today's show, especially if you want a roster projection before the next Cowboys preseason game. Let's talk notable cut candidates here. Players you've heard of, probably, that are not necessarily locked. All these guys are going to get cut. I want to have a conversation on them. Cooper Rush is first up here. And Rush will be involved on this team. But what happens if Lance plays great in the 3rd preseason game? What the Cowboys can do with Cooper Rush, with the way his contract is structured, the guaranteed money, etc., they could cut Cooper Rush, and because he is a vested veteran, he does not go through waivers. You then put him on the practice squad, and every week, he is your emergency 3rd quarterback. I think that's very doable for Dallas if that is a path they choose to pursue, if Lance earns that number 2 quarterback job. I am only putting Hunter Luepke on here because I have seen him be left off of roster projections by the Dallas Morning News and others. And quite frankly, I think that's wrong. I would be very surprised if Luepke did not make this Dallas Cowboys roster. He played 3 offensive snaps in week 2 of the preseason. They didn't do much else with him. They were putting Princeton Fant back there, a bunch at tight end. And the reason why, I believe, they know he's on the roster. Mike McCarthy likes that kid. He's a core special teamer as well. I think they view him as someone that could potentially help out at tight end in a pinch as well. Plus, Mike has said he buckets those groups together anyway. So whether you're counting, 4 tight ends, 3 tight ends, 4 running backs, 3 running backs, 5 running backs, Luepke's going to be one of those players. I would be very surprised if he did not make the 50th. In fact, that'd be one of the more surprising roster cuts I've seen in a while out of Dallas, since the damn Bailey one, probably. I still have to put my boy Deuce Vaughn on this list. I can't quit him. I thought he played really well in the last preseason game. Unlike all of the other backs on this roster, I think he actually offers you some juice and explosive ability and shiftiness in a way that you just don't have with what is a pretty battering ram heavy lead running back room in Dallas right now. He only played like 8 snaps or 7 snaps, whatever that exact number was, in the 2nd preseason game. Every touch was a successful play. And I think if we're going to give the average doesn't mean everything, got to focus on successful plays. It was all successful. It was all impactful out of Deuce Vaughn. So I cannot quit him. I also know that he has to earn a roster spot. Still in this 3rd preseason game is going to be pretty impactful. Look, Zeke's on this team. Rico Dowdle is on this team. Luepke, I think, is on this team. I think that leaves one spot for Royce Freeman and Deuce Vaughn. So who would you pick? You can only pick one of these guys. RY for Royce Freeman. DV for Deuce Vaughn. Sound off the pin comment of today's show. I don't necessarily think Ryan Flournoy is a roster lock, although that route against Jack Jones was pretty damned impressive. Cowboys have 5 players who are going to make this roster at wide receiver. Flournoy actually is your leading wide receiver in the preseason at 31 yards. That's not necessarily great. A testament to how many guys are playing and the overall passing game, short yardage stuff that's been going on there. But I have seen a lot of what I've wanted to see from Flournoy in the sense that I was worried about him after game 1. He was way better in game 2. Another step forward, I think he makes this team. Lamb is going to be on it. Cooks is going to be on it. Tolbert. I think Jalen Brooks makes it too. I mean, he's barely played in the preseason. If you're barely playing in the preseason, that almost always means the team knows that you're going to be safe. There are exceptions, like injuries and stuff. Kevontae Turpin is there. Is there a 6th player? If it is, I think Flournoy has the edge in a way that maybe wasn't the case early on in training camp. Last of the offensive linemen, Nathan Thomas. Look, the Cowboys like their guys. They do everything possible to get their draft picks onto the roster, but Nathan Thomas hasn't been playing. So how you figure that out and adjust from there is noteworthy. In a bubble, the O-line rotation kind of looked a little bit like this. It's shuffled around a little bit, but Tyler Guyton's going to be on this team. Tyler Smith, Brock Hoffman, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele. I really want to put back at the starter at center. I really want to do it, but I'm going to hold off for now. But BB's on this team. Adoga's going to be an IR candidate. TJ Bass is on this team. So at that, and I think Awesome Richards makes it, but as a guard. And that's what they've been playing Nathan Thomas. I don't know who this team's backup left tackle is with Adoga banged out. I am very concerned it is Josh Ball. And in that case, Nathan Thomas, Matt, let's go. One of those guys probably going to get cut. Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by Prize Picks. They are America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, it's just you against the numbers. You're not battling thousands of other players. You just pick more than or less than. You got preseason football is underway, but you can pick more than or less than on 2024 season stats on Prize Picks. It is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. This is one of my my season-long Prize Picks slates for football. Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, all the more than passing yards, because if they're healthy, they're going to smash those marks. That's an easy smash for me, as long as they're healthy. I'll do the flex play. If I get one wrong, I still come out on top. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Link will be in the comments and the description, of course, of today's show. All right, so we've wrapped up our 5 offensive cut candidates here for the Dallas Cowboys. Move ahead to the defensive cut candidates. This one should probably not be a surprise. Viliami Fehoko Jr. has, I think, frankly been the biggest disappointment. I don't want to buy to the guy. I feel bad saying this, but it is how I feel. I don't know if anyone's been more disappointing to me this preseason. He has played 75 snaps. He has 1 tackle and 0 pressures. He's been a ghost out there. I don't get it. I get that there's the tweener stuff, and they probably had him. The weight change has probably been an impact maybe there, but you were a 4th-round pick. I had a 5th-round grade on you. I thought you'd be getting outplayed by Al-Quadin Muhammad and Darrell Johnson and Tyrus Wheat. There might not have been a worse player on this Cowboys roster right now than Fehoko. Actually, I thought Dakota Sheffield was pretty bad last week, but point still stands. 75 plays. And I think it's like 40-something of those are pass pressures. You got 0 pressures? 0? Look, Tank Lawrence, DeMarcus, or Micah Parsons, Marshawn Nealon, I think Chauncey Golston, Carl Lawson. That's probably going to be your 5 pass rushing group. Maybe. Everyone else I think is over Fehoko as well right now. It's not a great spot to be. I would love if Dan Quinn came and picked up his mistake. Do you think, though, that could happen? The preseason film was bad, man. Do you think the Cowboys could find a trade partner for Fehoko? Y for yes, N for no. There was one projection, and I wonder if it was just one that got put out later than it should have, and they forgot to adjust it, of no Andrew Booth on the Cowboys roster. They could cut him if they wanted to. I thought there were some ups and downs, some good, some bad in Booth's first game. The fact that he's got 2 years left, no guaranteed money, I think he makes it as this team's 5th corner. 9 of 12, 411 yards, not very good. It's high. I will say, only 4 of those catches went for a first down. Some of them coming on 3rd downs too, by the way. For a player at Clemson that was straight up a bad tackler, I was very happy to see him make a bunch of good tackles. He made several good ones in that game. So there's still work to be done in coverage, obviously. That's the most important part. I thought some steps forward in the first game. I can't wait to see him again in the second one. Probably comes down to is Eric Scott versus Andrew Booth. And I'm not surprised the Cowboys played Booth as much as they did because they wanted to give him reps, because they want to see what they truly have in him there. Eric Scott has the INT, the splashy play. I did not notice him in last week's game. That is actually a good thing, because it means you're not getting beat. Didn't allow a catch on like 2 targets. However, every catch he's allowed has gone for a first down. So almost half the targets with the same amount of first downs allowed. It's not good. It's not good at all, frankly. So let's say you can only pick one of these guys to make the roster. I think you only do pick one of these guys, barring injury stuff. AB for Andrew Booth, ES for Eric Scott. We'll stick in the secondary, Israel Mukuamu. They're playing him mostly at nickel, which I actually don't mind at all. The best thing I think going in favor for Israel Mukuamu is he can be your number 2 nickel or number 3 if you want to shift around Bland inside, but I kind of don't know if you want to at this point. If something happens to Jordan Lewis, he can be your number 5 or number 6, whatever, outside corner, or I guess number 5 since Lewis is really just a nickel. And if there's a safety injury, he's your number 5 safety, and he's a core special teamer. I actually think when you get down to the back end of that roster and you're figuring who is your number 52, your number 53 player, your 48th guy on game day, being able to do all those different things actually kind of goes in your favor. In a way, it doesn't for the banged-up Schroeder Goodwin. In a way, it doesn't for Eric Scott. So I don't want to quit Izzy because I still believe in him. But he's by no means a roster lock at this time. Now, if you want that Cowboys roster projection later this week, you can kind of tell from this list who I'm not quite sure is going to be on that when I get to it. Then sub. Free videos multiple times per day, every day here on the Cowboys Report. CJ Goodwin does feel like cheating. I also wonder if this could actually be it for him finally. I wonder if the kickoff rule changes actually benefit more of the linebacker build types, the safety build types. Now, the punt return stuff still matters, although I'd like to point out that when there was a penalty on special teams last week, it was on Goodwin. And that's not a great thing. Now, much like Cooper Rush, we're kind of bookended on this part. He is not subject to waivers as a vested veteran. So you could cut him, put him on the practice squad the next day with no risk of being claimed, although you have to have him want to sign with you still. And then, boom, he can be a game day call up 3 times. Rush can be called up infinitely if that scenario occurs, by the way. So I would not be shocked if he ends up getting cut.